Oh, okay. Let's get started. First of all, surprise. I got a haircut. All of them, in fact. Uh, it's uh, quite the dramatic change. I've never had it this short before, so we'll see how it works going forward. So far, so good, but it's also end of summer, so I probably should have done this when it was still hot. We are back on the breadfruit today. If you were looking during the pre-show panel, I've still got the half of breadfruit from the weekend. Uh, in part, that was an experiment. Just stick it in the fridge. I put the plastic over the cut side. Stick it in the fridge, see what it does. Uh, and you know what? It held up. It's still nice and dry to the touch. It hasn't gone weepy or soggy on the cut surface. Here, I'll switch over. It hasn't gone weepy or soggy on the cut surface. The soft spot is still there, uh, and it kind of goes up to the top, and it hasn't expanded at all. So I'm pretty sure that was just a bruise from shipping, not rot. So that's good news. It smells fine. It looks perfectly fine. I'd say that the cut breadfruit holds up extremely well. It hasn't even oxidized really. The openings may have gotten a little bit larger. I think it may have lost a little bit of surface water. Other than that, it looks good to me. I did pick up a second one as a spare. The second one, the new one, is quite a bit riper than this one. This one was very green. I've been doing some reading. This one was very green. It's still considered to have ripened because its surface isn't pointy. I guess the bumps start out very conical and they kind of spread out as it ripens. But let me get the other one. This one is much browner. Still has some green spots on it. I couldn't find one that was completely ripened over. I wanted an insurance policy just in case there was something wrong with this one. And I quite like this stuff, so I'm definitely going to use it. The thing I'm going to try making is so this fruit, as we learned last time, is a starch. It behaves. Is my sound working? Yep, there it is. Okay, couldn't see my sound channel. This fruit is a starch. It behaves a lot like a potato, but dry. And what we did before was just shred it up and make some hash browns. I also just sliced a chunk off and fried it, see what it would do. But in my reading about it, you can apparently make a dough out of this thing with pretty much just itself, not adding anything to it. And that's super intriguing because you can't really do that with a potato, for example. If you try to make, if you boil up a potato, mash it, try to turn it into a dough, it just falls apart. You need something else in there to help bind it together. Usually wheat flour. This stuff, supposedly does that by itself. You don't need to add flour to make it bind together into a workable dough. Not like a really smooth bread dough, but like workable dough. So that's what I'm going to do. These little, I have the name, got a recipe pulled up today from Global Kitchen Travels. Actually, got 3 recipes pulled up. Lam Vertiab Boulet from Haiti, which are They look like they're going to be little. They look like dumplings, but they're like spheres with a stuffing inside, and you deep fry the whole thing. And we're gonna decide later when we get that far whether I want to do a deep fry, a proper deep fry, or do a shallow fry on them, because I really don't want to get out a full big pot of deep frying oil. Um, so we will see when we get that far. But step one, I've got to break down the rest of this guy. I haven't moved him because this outer skin is a little bit sticky. I want to keep it off of the actual countertop, if I can. And we're going to have to cut away the soft spot. You can see the soft spot. It's this wrinkly patch right there. So we're going to cut away the soft spot, and then we're going to use the rest of it. We're also going to see what the top part of this thing looks like. The bottom part, there was just a little like golf ball of this core bit that I had to take out. But I bet you that core connects to the stem. So there's probably a little cylinder that I'm going to lose. Let's see. We're going to cut right through the soft spot, actually, because I want to see what's in there. It doesn't connect up that far. Soft spot is a little mushy. I think it's gotten a little bit softer as it's, like the whole thing has gotten a little bit softer as it's sat around. Which one of these was my scrap? Oh, that one was over there. I just washed the scraps bowl, so we'll get out a fresh one of those. But it's still got that strangely smooth, waxy texture to it. The core does not appear to go all the way up to the stem, but it's close. But we're going to cut the soft spot away. Because I don't trust it. Soft spots in fruit are almost always a sign that you should just not eat that part. And I see no reason to think this is any different for this thing compared to any other fruit. So I'm just sort of taking chunks out of it until it's nice and firm on all the surfaces. And then I'm just going to take the skin off, take the core out, and we're going to boil it like a potato. I lose a little bit more than I would like to when I'm peeling it. I've noticed that. I should try just a normal vegetable peeler. See if I can't. Oof. Yeah, okay. The vegetable peeler is not appropriate for this. Stuff is like, it's scaly, so it wants to break along the edges of the scales. So you can't get nice strips. You got to really cut it away. I wonder if it loosens up when it's a little bit riper. Another thing I've discovered in my reading was that when I tasted it and it was like, ew, can't eat that raw. Apparently, when it is fully ripened, it becomes sweet and edible raw. But they're commonly eaten underripe, at which time you have to cook them, which is what I've got here. It's underripe and very starchy. Blemish. I'm just gonna take that off. And knock this core out of here. That's going to need a paring knife. Or I'm going to use a paring knife. I'm going to slip and take my finger off. The core is quite fibrous, I've noticed as well. But nutritionally, I quite like what this stuff looks like in terms of a breakdown, because most of your starches are quite low in fiber, unless you like do a whole grain where you leave all the outer parts of the grain, and then they become it affects the texture a lot. This stuff is supposed to be high in fiber through and through. And I didn't notice anything in those hash browns that threw me in terms of like, ooh, added fiber texture. So I'm hopeful that this dough that we make out of this will have a similar property where it ends up being nice and smooth without that fibrousness in the mouth feel. Huh. Surprised nobody showed up yet. Well, okay, and then we got the stem. I'm not sure how to get the stem out. It actually cuts through the stem pretty easily, which surprises me. I would think the stem would be woody, but it doesn't seem to be at all. Do not do what I am currently doing. Do not cut towards your hand with force. That is a good way to take your finger off. Especially since I really actually have to lean into it to get into that core. The core seems very tough. Uh, no, there's a soft spot there. So we're going to track that piece down. I don't blame the soft spots on the age of this thing. I blame the soft spots on the fact that it had one when I bought it and I missed it in the store. Oh, I cut through the core. The core is pretty big on that side. Huh. Well, I guess I'm going to keep cutting away pieces of core. So little more loss on the stem end than there was on the bottom end from cutting out the middle, but still not very bad. Let's see how deep that goes. Okay, I'm just going to take this clean through into chunks so I can see if I can track down any more of those soft spots. They were kind of around the stem, which makes sense as well. The bruise was up near the stem end, and then the stem is itself ever so slightly soft, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. Let's call that good enough. Take this into big chunks. Chunks. Okay. Now, step one, boil this. And like other things to prep while it's boiling. Let's roll down to the actual recipe. I'm not using salt cod, so I don't worry about the salt cod. Peel the breadfruit, cut it into chunks, remove the core. Pot. Add breadfruit. Add salt. It says 2 teaspoons. I'm just going to take a large pinch. Add enough water to just cover the fruit. It floats a little bit, so good enough. Boil until very soft. Oh, with a lid. Good thing I picked a pot that has a lid. Lid. Bring to a boil. Okay. That is our first part. I'm doing that first because it needs to boil and then cool enough to handle, and then we have other things to do with it. I'm going to clean my knife. I'm going to clean both my knives. This stuff does not leave very much residue on any of my boards or knives either, which is another big selling point. When you cut into potatoes, they leave all that starchy juice everywhere. This stuff does not do that. I believe nobody's popped in. Yeah, that's me. I don't know. So the filling we're going to use for this thing is going to be fish. We're not going to do saltfish. I've got discount salmon. Salmon's gotten pretty pricey these days, so I'm happy to see it in the discount. We got quite a lot of it there too, so I can do two things with it if I want to. And I'm supposed to create the filling, and the filling needs to be pre-cooked, which makes sense. You don't often deep fry something with raw filling, because then you would have to really cook the heck out of it to get the filling cooked through the outer casing. So get out my ingredient bowls. Onions, bell peppers, garlic, hot peppers, fish, parsley, lime juice, salt is what it recommends. And it's just a mix. So I'm going to do that. Let's see if my hot peppers are still in decent shape. Stuck them in the fridge to preserve them. It's wrinkly, but it seems still good. So I'm going to go ahead and use that guy. Got a brand new bell pepper, just picked up this morning. And an onion. Ooh, I'm low on onions. I am low on onions. But we have ample garlic. So let's start cutting up our veg component. Keep an eye on my boiling pot. It has come to a boil. I'm going to bring it down so it does not boil madly. We're going to let that go for 15 minutes or until very soft. Remind me to pick up onions next time I'm out. I was out today and I didn't realize I was low on onions. I suspect I might make too much of the filling. One recipe I'm following is one of those recipes that doesn't really have really clear quantities. It's like an onion, a breadfruit, some bell pepper. And I'm not using a Scotch bonnet. I'm using a red jalapeno. I don't feel like going all in on hot, hot, hot. And I'm seeding it. Oh, and wow, that was a spicy onion. Ooh, I don't often cry from onions. Wow, that one got me. Whoa. Whoa. Oops. It's not my trash bowl. That's my onions. I just threw, well, whatever. Got distracted by those weeping from the onion. Got my two side bowls confused here. probably don't need the whole bell pepper, if I'm honest. And since there's a sauce coming up that also calls for bell pepper, and then a ingredient of that sauce that also calls for more bell pepper, I guess they really like bell peppers in Haiti, at least on this recipe. But because of that, I guess I'm pretty happy with taking this one into sections. Ooh, got some garden dirt in there. Oh, pardon me. My nose is running from that onion. It was a really spicy onion. Got me. Okay. Onion caught me off guard there. Okay. Rinse the pepper juice and off of my board, just so it's a bit less slippery. Oh, it's slippery on the bottom, of course, because I just got it wet. We're gonna saute up our fruit and vegetable blend there. I'm going to move the breadfruit to the back corner burner. And we're going to saute our filling in the front here. And just enough oil to get us started. Get our onions and peppers in there. Reuse this bowl. We're going to need that again in a little bit. Salt them to get them started sweating out. And while they are getting started, let me get a spatula and push them around while they're getting started. And a plate to put my dirty spatula on. Let's dig into this fish. because it can't wait. Well, it can. Wait a little bit. It can't wait forever. Got to use it today. Get the loose scales off of it. That's not supposed to be scales on the front side there. So I want it in little like chunks. Where's my dish towel? I threw it in the top. I want it in little chunks, and I don't want the skin on it. So I guess I'm going to. Oh man. Always tough to cut salmon like that with the skin still on it. Apparently they didn't scale it very well because there's a whole lot of scales coming off on my board. Probably why this one was in the discount bin. But see if we can't get under it. Ooh, I should use the long skinny knife for that. This guy, he needs a little. Okay, long skinny knife is easier to go through a fish. I don't have a proper like fillet knife, but I do have this kind of like a fillet knife. And it, wow. I guess I need to take this knife in for professional sharpening because that was terrible. Wow. Um, where's my little sharp paring knife? That was awful. It didn't even go through the skin. It slid underneath and found the scales, which are still on this fish, which is not what I wanted to see. Okay. Once again, we're having a hard time with a piece of salmon that I got out of the discount bin. Not because the salmon is weird or bad, but because it wasn't scaled. Okay, that's a much sharper knife. I guess that knife is just extremely dull because this one just went perfectly. Okay, so that knife, that long skinny knife, needs a professional resharpening because it did not go through this fish at all. We're gonna use our little sharp paring knife instead. Okay, salmon chunks part 1. I think I want twice that amount, so I'm gonna do that same thing again with the next chunk of the fish. Go through the skin. Getting through the skin is the hard part. Getting under the skin is actually, I can almost do it with my fingers. In fact, I can do it with my fingers. Huh. Well, okay, I guess you can do it with your fingers. It's a little bit squishy. I'm afraid of cutting my hand. So, And I don't trust this salmon to be sushi ready, so we do definitely want to pre-cook it, and then also it's going to get a little bit of an extra cook from the fry oil at the end. Take that. Is that the skin? No, that's the fat layer underneath the skin. That should be fine. I can hear my vegetables sizzling back there, so I've got to get this back there and on the go with them before we lose track of our whole thing. Wash my hand. Got raw fish all over it now. I have no idea how much filling I'm going to need because I have no idea how much dough I'm going to get out of this. So I'm deliberately kind of overshooting. Let's get back over to the stove with our fish. Push our vegetables around. Okay, no, they're not. We're not losing them. We're not losing those guys yet. So we have time to. I used the wrong board for the fish because, of course, I did. Well, it's the fish board now. Push it to the back. And do garlic. Garlic's is going to be done right here on the countertop because why not? No reason not to. Healthy amount of garlic. Get out my garlic tube. Oh, great. Dry off my countertop so the garlic tube doesn't slide around. Come on. Ugh. Wow, that's a tough clove of garlic. Why won't it break? That one did. It came off immediately. That's what they're supposed to do. You put them in the tube, you roll the tube, and out pops just a skinned garlic. But I guess every once in a while it just doesn't want to go. Because that first one just didn't want to go. Did it go? It cracked it a little bit. I can feel it the rest of it the way. But wow, you don't often see a garlic that just won't come out of its skin like that. We're gonna crush the garlic directly into our pan today because I didn't plan ahead with the garlic. Again, for those of you just joining us, currently I'm making a dumpling filling, and I'm boiling some breadfruit because I have learned from reading about breadfruit that you can evidently turn it into a serviceable dough. And I have a recipe that I'm following, Haitian in origin, called, I wrote the recipe name down more, from Global Kitchen Travels. That sure sounds good to me. So it's a savory fish-filled dumpling with breadfruit as the outer casing and very little else. The thing I'm intrigued about with this is, compared to like a potato dough, you supposedly don't need to add any flour to mashed breadfruit in order to make it form a dough. It has enough structure on its own to form a dough, and I've never done it before, so that's the hope. I'm gonna throw the fish in. And then it wanted parsley and lime, and I've got parsley. I'm not gonna say it's fresh because I'm gonna see what it looks like when I get in there. That's the spinach. It's in good shape. I don't have any fresh lime, but I have packaged lime. Let's take the stemmiest end off of that. Parsley stems are, of course, fully edible. They just are a little bit fibrous. And parsley wilts a lot, so you can put in quite a large quantity of parsley and it will not make up a great volume of your finished whatever you're making. The recipe also says you can make this. I'm making it with fresh salmon. It calls for salt cod, but it has a note that you can make it with pretty much any leftover meats, chicken, pork. You can probably make it with mushrooms. You just want some kind of protein filling. That's the. I bet this would be good with tofu. But you just want some kind of protein filling for your dumpling. And I saw fish, salmon, ready to go. That was some lime juice. So I'm doing it with salmon because it's what I have. It's what I found today. I often cook with whatever I happen to find that day. It makes for some high creativity where I have to figure out how to use an ingredient that I just discovered that day, such as the last time when I just discovered breadfruit. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. The breadfruit has been in there long enough that I need to check it for softness. But it needs to be mashable. Ooh, it seems pretty soft. That one's stuck to my... I can go through it with very little resistance. I don't know that I'm going to get any softer than that. So I will call that soft enough. Let's get out a... I'm going to mash it right in the pot, but I need to take the liquid out of the pot because I'm supposed to preserve the boiling liquid. So let's do that. Fortunately, my pot has a strainer built right into the lid. But I'm also going to do this over the sink where nobody can see it because I'm afraid of spilling it all over the place. And I don't need all the liquid saved, but it's easier to save all of it than part of it. Okay. And there, dear friends, is our boiled breadfruit. I suspect I've got more filling than I'm going to need. I would like this to get a little bit of browning. Oh, I am getting a little bit of browning. I was liking this to get a little bit of browning on the salmon. Both of these need to cool down enough to handle before I can get to the next stage. Oh, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. I don't have a follow alerts because I procrastinate massively on the all the actual twitchy parts of Twitch. Yes, so they both need to cool until I can handle them. Let's well, what do you think? Will the breadfruit mash better hot, or if I let it chill out a little bit? I'm going to bet it mashes better hot, so... It takes a firm hand to mash it. It's not as tender as a potato. It smells... What does that smell like? It's that same familiarity that I had last time with it. I would do this on that burner, but that burner is still hot, and I want this to cool. I'm going to need to shape it by hand, so it has to be at least cool enough that I can shape it by hand. I'm also some mash. This might take a lot of mashing too, because I'm supposed to. Hi ho, welcome in. I got a haircut. We've got our dumpling filling, dumplingly filled, and I am mashing my breadfruit, and I am concerned that I might need to really work out on this to get it to the smoothness I am told I'm supposed to get it to. So But yeah, welcome in. It's been a slow trickle on the old viewership. Let's see. I want to do this on the board over here. Just I didn't want it to be. Don't want it to melt my nylon cutting board or leave marks on my countertop. So, for those of you just joining us, we're constructing some kind of dumpling. I wrote the name in the title, of Haitian origin that uses breadfruit as the outer casing. And I have chosen, because I found some in the bargain bin this morning, salmon to be the protein of choice in my filling. The recipe says that I can use any and recommends either salt cod, which I believe is a traditional choice, or leftovers as a way to repurpose like leftover chicken or pork or something like that. I imagine any protein would work. I was speculating earlier that I think this would probably work quite well with tofu. I'm using the spoon because the recipe recommends that I use a spoon to mash out any remaining lumps. I think it's working. This is a very sticky dough. I've got pictures too, so I should probably reference the pictures of what this is meant to look like. Yeah, it's pretty close actually. I reserved my water. I'm supposed to add little bits of the starchy water from cooking it to loosen it up a little bit. And it's going to be sticky. There's no way to avoid that. This isn't flour. This isn't wheat, so it's not going to develop that glutinous skin. The only flour it calls for, however, is for dusting my hands as I handle it so that it doesn't stick to me. But I already think that we're just about where I wanted to be with it. It's still too hot, still hotter than I would like to handle it. So I'm going to pop it back in there. Taste my finger. Weird. Tasty. I like this stuff. I'm very enamored with breadfruit. Okay, next up, I need to make sauce, and that's what it's called. It's spelled S-O-S with a little accent on the O, sauce. because this thing is supposed to have a sauce. And for that sauce, I need to make a sauce base, which I'm going to make only a small quantity of because I don't think I'm going to need nearly as much as this recipe wants. I'm going to use 1 of my thirds of this smallish green pepper. And we'll get my board back. So the sauce also wants green pepper, in addition to the sauce base calling for green pepper. And there's green pepper in our filling. So I guess if you don't like green pepper, I would avoid this entire cuisine because it looks like they put green pepper in just about everything. This one's supposed to be a mince. I'm going to get the big pieces down, and then I'm going to go over it a couple of times. And I feel that the sauce is not a cooked thing. It's just... Oh, it is actually a cooked thing. Okay, that's why. So part of it is cooked and part of it is uncooked. That's why they're different. But I think I can get away with shortcutting this since I'm not making a big batch of this base sauce. We're also not putting any cilantro in there because this is a no cilantro household. You know what you did, cilantro. We need a pot, a medium pot. That guy there. So the sauce is a dip or a condiment. Bell pepper, onion, cloves, pickles. I feel like some of these words, these are Haitian things, and I feel like the words were taken from English because it's pickles, but it's spelled P-I-K-L-I-Z, pickles. And sauce, which is S-O-S with an accent. So I just get the feeling that those may be words that were adopted since they are, I can't think of a way to pronounce them other than the same pronunciation as the English word that they are similar to. Okay. But I don't know if I'm going to make this correctly. This seems like the kind of thing where there's a method to it, but everyone makes it a little bit different. This one wants tomato paste, which I've got. Let's switch us over to the stove since I'm just adding stuff directly to the pot now. Lemon juice. How much lemon juice? Double tablespoon, half a tablespoon of lemon juice. So, good big squirt of lemon juice. I'm just gonna use scallion for my onion instead of getting out another whole onion because, as we mentioned, I'm very low on onion. I need to go out and get more onion. But scallions taste like onions because they are onions. We're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna mince this up, take the little ends off. Should check how long this is expected to take. No estimates. Boil. Cloves, pickles, bell peppers, thyme. I've got fresh thyme. Been growing thyme all summer long and barely use it. Now is the time for thyme to thyme. Okay. Scallions. Good enough. Good enough. Hot pepper. I'm going to just use a powder there instead of getting out another hot pepper. Oh, thank you for the moisten. Moist. And welcome in, Felix. Hot pepper powder. Where's my hot pepper powder? There you are. There you are. Well, that's not the one that's open. Where's the open one? There you are. No. I could be convinced to bring it down a little bit, but not quite that far. Don't worry, we've got some moisteners coming up. Epis is the thing that I don't have that I'm kind of going to dance around. Because it is itself a thing. It looks like it's a base condiment in Haitian cooking, because a condiment that I'm making calls for it as an ingredient, and when I look it up, it is itself a complex sauce. So let's hope this works out, since I'm not going to make a batch of epis just so I can make enough sauce for one, perhaps two servings of the thing that I can't remember the name of that is in the title of the show. Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Sneeze. Those onions earlier really got me. But it wants celery as well, so I'm going to give it some celery. I've been narrating as I go, but we have some late arrivals, so if you've got any questions about what the heck I'm doing, jump in. We're making sauce. And the thing in the title. Our breadfruit. Sorry, I gotta blow my nose a little bit here. I will do you the courtesy of mute while I do so. And I will then wash my hands immediately. So we've already got our breadfruit paste. Here it is. It's a little bit sticky, but not extremely sticky. I think it's the right consistency for forming little balls. Let me pop outside real quick and grab some thyme because I need some thyme. And let me go ahead and cheat and add some garlic powder to this because it wants garlic and I already used up my fresh garlic. Thyme. Thyme has been going very, very well. The thyme was struggling at the beginning of summer, and now it's doing super well. It's big, it's beautiful. And we're just going to take the leaves off directly into the pots. I think the sauce is going to need to simmer on the back burner while I do the frying. So once I get all the ingredients in it, I think that's what we're going to do, is we're just going to transfer it right to the rear burner. So, wow, something in here is really making me sneeze, and I don't think it's the onions anymore because there's no fresh onion around. Something got in my nose. Oh, pardon me. Oh. Vinegar. There's already lemon in there, but it also wants lime. It has the thyme. It has the garlic. It has the tomato. It has the onion. It wants a large quantity of olive oil. Which I believe is forming the base of our sauce. This thing says it's supposed to be blended. I'm not blending this one. We're just going to boil it for a little while, I guess. Parsley, which we just had out, I put away. I'll need again. Why am I so sniffly? I wasn't sniffly at all up until even on the show here. I wasn't sniffly up until just a moment ago when people started arriving. Now I'm sniffling, and I'm gonna form an anti-ASMR channel and make sounds that nobody wants to listen to. Oh. So we've got 3 different acids, a bunch of aromatics, quite a lot of oil, tomato. The recipe lists a blender not under tools, but under ingredients, and that is concerning. We've got the hot pepper, clove. This calls for cloves. I have both powdered and fresh, and I'm going to go with the powdered. And it wants 3 cloves, so I'm attempting to add enough powder to mimic 3 cloves. I don't have pickles spelled with a K and a Z juice, but I have pickles, and they have juice. Pickles, they have the juice. So let's add some dill pickle juice. And I'm not throwing a Scotch bonnet in there. Okay. Sure is an interesting combination of stuff. I assume it's going to taste good. I kind of want to throw a starch in there to pull it together. But let's move it to the back burner. Okay. Clear stuff up because there's going to be a big project. We're coming up to the big project part of the today's project. Oh, I should check my time. What have I got? No, I mean starch to the sauce to make it a little more saucy, just like a little a shot of cornstarch and water to make it a little more saucy, thickened. No, I know in the actual dish that I'm presenting, the breadfruit is the starch, for sure. I need flour, but just for my hands. I also picked up the mightiest jug of oil because we're doing a fry with these. I should get the filling out of the pan. Hello, Black Hole Electric. Do you go by Black Hole, or by Electric, or by 89? Welcome in. We are fast approaching the construction of the dumplings stage, and I'm in need of clearing space because once there's hot, horrifying oil, I need to not be bumping into things. So I'm assembling stuff over here. Ooh, that's got a spice to it. Ooh, that's got a spice to it. Oh. Another bowl. But welcome in. Always appreciate the company. We're going to bring us over to the countertop fully. We're going to get our breadfruit mash. This is not like mashed potato, for sure. In my previous tests, breadfruit behaved a lot like potato. This is not like potato. We are exploring uncharted territory, for me at least, with this stuff. And it is sticking to my fingers too, so I definitely need the flour for shaping these things, and I need a place to put them. And we need to get the oil ready. So we're going to get out our cast iron Dutch oven. I have tried sushi. I like sushi. I don't eat it as frequently as I once did. But yes, nothing raw today. And we're in a different part of the world in terms of cuisine. How do you get this thing open? I bought a big jug of oil. Learning Japanese and everything. I don't know any Japanese except for like specific nouns like sushi. So you've got me beat there. I bought a massive jug of oil. This is going to be my fry oil going forward. Bring it up to about halfway, which is about a half a gallon of oil. Well, konnichiwa to you. Okay, our oil, that's plenty of oil. We are going to have to have a monitoring thermometer on it, which I don't know is going to be visible from the... If I do it like this, it will. I've had some concern that my fry thermometer might be miscalibrated. So okay, that's coming up to heat over there, but we're working over here. Ooh, something made I don't know if it was the onions or the peppers or a combination of the onions and the peppers. I'm still sniffling, and I need a place to put these where they won't immediately stick. I'm going to put down a tray on the top of the trash can. You guys can never see the trash can. The trash can is like an inch off the side of the board here. Push things into the trash can. And we're going to roll some parchment on it. Or do I want straight up wax paper? I think I want straight up wax paper. Since we're not cooking it, it just needs to be a nonstick surface. And I think wax paper is less stick than parchment. I think. Please jump in and tell me I'm a fool if I'm a fool, but I believe that's true. Well, I haven't really eaten anything with a strong spice yet today. I did slice up an onion, and it really got me crying, and I've kind of been sniffly since then. So I'm wondering if it's just the after effects of that onion, because it was a very potent onion. Who is that little dancing fellow? Who is that little dancing fellow? VTuber 38 dancing. That's adorable. Okay. Flour tower, the tower of flour, is ready and waiting off the side here. Both of these guys are cool enough to touch. Let's dust up my hand. And the board. And use my elbow to switch over to our recipe. Once again, the recipe I'm using today is from Global Kitchen Travels, because I have never made this before and I need some kind of reference, even though I'm kind of ignoring them. Looks like we're making large golf ball size out of this. We'll see how much we get. With floured hands, take a piece of the dough and shape it into a disc. Oh, there are some big lumps left in here. There are some big lumps left in here. I can feel it with my fingers now. I didn't quite. The camera's blurry. I mean, the camera's probably a little bit blurry because it's a bad camera, but this is about as in focus as it ever gets. Did your signal drop for a moment? Twitch will downshift you to a lower resolution. If you do, I need to dry my hands off because I just rinsed them. Well, it looks about the same as it always looks to me, so I think it's just that the camera's not very good. If it hasn't changed, then we're still at wherever we were to start with, which is just a matter of not having a top quality camera. Oh, Black Hole Electric, you are officially first today. Nobody has redeemed that yet. So congratulations at being first. I'm supposed to take this and form a little disc out of it. Wow, this does not look like what I thought it was going to look like. Take some of the stuff, plunk it in there, and close it up. I guess I need more of the stuff. The dough sticks to itself quite well, but it also sticks to me a lot, and it really wants to tear. That's not going to hold together because every time I pull my fingers away from it, it wants to tear open. There's no flour in there. This is not, the breadfruit does not require, supposedly, does not require flour. It's just breadfruit. We're not making a dough out of breadfruit. The breadfruit is just straight up the dough. That's the experiment. That's the test here, is that supposedly this is how it works. That it's got enough of its own starch to work. Thank you for the moisten. Moist. But again, I've never done this before, so the dough in the pictures looks much smoother than mine. And that seems like part of the problem. I think mine is still too lumpy, and I'm not sure how to get it smoother. If I added a little bit of flour, I bet I could. Cook until very soft. Remove breadfruit, mash breadfruit, add a little bit of cooking water to make a smooth batter. Pound with a wooden spoon to remove any lumps until you have a sticky batter. With floured hands, take a piece of the breadfruit dough and flatten it into a disc and wrap it around the thing. And the only thing it says is use more flour to stop it from sticking to your hands, and that's it. So, I guess heavily flour everything. Because we're breaking up here. Just kind of squeeze it together. That's working. That it's not perfect, but it sure looks like more like the picture now. Okay. I guess we're just gonna proceed. These are being deep fried. This is why we've got the pot of oil going. Okay, a little bit of flour definitely is helping this a lot. So my concern is if I add too much flour, the breadfruit will stop sticking to itself as well. It really wants to stick to itself when it's not floured, which is great. But the danger then is that if I start flouring it, it won't stick to itself. It'll try to stick to the flour or fall apart or something. Yeah, we're doing a deep fry with these guys today. The biggest issue I have is that they want to stick to my hands. They really want to stick to my hands. Even that first one, the problem was more that it was sticking to my hands and then tearing than the fact that it was not holding together. It actually is holding together pretty well. Well, I don't have guests, just you guys. Also, I can't test one because the oil is cold because we were using that burner earlier. So I think what we're going to do today is just power through, and if it fails, it fails. If the first one disintegrates, then I guess I will attempt to shallow fry the rest. But until that happens, I'm going to assume this is going to work. But I am impressed, considering that there is nothing but breadfruit in the actual dough pot there. It forms these nice little patties. I think if I had a proper way to mash it, like I used a potato masher, but it's a little bit sturdier than potato. Much stickier than flour dough would be. That's probably the biggest issue I'm having right now is just that it keeps wanting to stick to me while I'm shaping these things. I want to make sure to get air out of it too. Uh, but I'm very impressed at this with this stuff. It is behaving a lot more like dough than potato would if I just mashed a potato and tried to form balls with it. You'd have to add some flour to. I was just about to wash my hands off because I'm chatting instead of thinking when I should be flouring them up and keep going. Again, I'm adding flour to reduce the sticking. I don't think it needs it for structure. I'm also getting distinctly distracted, focusing, instead of maintaining a level of chatter. Try different shapes of shaping these. That one worked together pretty easily. I think that's a good method. Keep an eye on that oil. No, we're nowhere near on the oil. I suspect I'm going to have extra filling as well. Don't stick to me, please. I'm sure there's a specific, like, oh, just do this, and it goes perfectly, just like any of these traditional dumpling things. So when you're with your Haitian family making a batch of these, they're just being cranked out in no time. That one's a little bit oblong. Round you out a little bit. Weird stuff. It goes back to being very sticky pretty fast too. I wonder it told me to get a quarter cup of flour ready solely to dust my hands with. Because stuff is sticky enough to need that much. Oop. Okay. And then, yeah. Tuck it in, close it like a clamshell. Squeeze it together. No, oh no, it's tearing. That one tore on me. Yes, welcome in, Saizan. These are indeed dumpling. The specific name of this dumpling is in the stream title because I can't remember it. And we are currently struggling a little bit getting the casings to case because this stuff, oh, you can't even see it. This stuff, the dough, is 100% breadfruit. And the flour here is just to prevent it from gluing itself onto my hands every time I touch it because this stuff is very sticky. Sticky enough that I wonder if you could actually make bread out of it. Like I doubt it has enough protein to form the gluten matrix or a mimic of the gluten matrix. I'm scraping the extra bits off of my hand here. I doubt it has enough protein to form the gluten matrix you would need for a proper like foamy interior on bread. But it definitely has a lot more structure to it than I was expecting. The bits that have gotten stuck in my flour have formed little weird wormy tendrils that I'm just packing into my dumplings here. And this dish is Haitian in origin. I don't know that I've ever had Haitian food. I don't know that this is going to be Haitian food because I strongly suspect I'm doing perhaps several things wrong. Little bits of this to paste shut my surface. I'm hoping that pasting shut works because if you do that with a normal dumpling, it kind of breaks. But this stuff is so gluey. that I feel like it should work. They're getting a little bit uglier as I go as well, as I get more bits and lumps in them. Oh, that one's got a big air pocket too. I got to make sure they don't have A, holes, and B, air pockets. Those are both things that are bad when you deep fry. Oh, this one's gone sticky on me again. If we've got holes, the stuff inside is going to fall out. There's a hole right there. If we've got air pockets, the air pocket is going to expand and want to burst out the side. Check my temperature over there. Our oil is getting over 300. I've got this much left. This whole shaping process is definitely the most labor-intensive bit. Doing it would be so much easier if it would just stop sticking to me so much. Get more flour on my hand. But yeah. So, sorry, this is a little bit repetitive. I was hoping this would be a little bit faster overall. Like that day, I spent 45 minutes just slicing mushrooms. I didn't think that that many mushrooms would take that long, but they sure did. Flour that hand. Put the thing down. Flour that hand. Press, flip, press, flip, press, flip. Handful of the stuff. Tuck in the sides. Oh, immediately stuck to my hand again. Stop sticking to me. Damn it. I'm getting glooby hand from the sticking. Glooby. Which is, honestly, another reason I think this might actually make a decent bread option, because it's clearly got enough starch to form glue, just like bread or potatoes, or wheat or potatoes do. And that's the first step. That's the first challenge to getting a bread, is to have something that's starchy enough to do that with. Two more. There should be two more in that lump. You can't even see the lump. Flour my hands. Tear the lump in half this time. I can smell the oil, which suggests that it's becoming very hot. I'm going to cross-reference it with my other thermometer, because I I suspect that my fry thermometer might be miscalibrated, and I don't know how to recalibrate it other than get it hot and then test it against the other thermometer. But I don't know if the other thermometer can handle quite the same temperature range. So I guess we're going to find out together. Okay. Last one. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and roll it in some flour and lumpy bits. Get some on my hand. I wonder if this would have worked better if I was using oil as the nonstick instead of flour. Because I know you do that in like Italian breads and such. Something to try next time. I'm not going to split between dumplings and try one with oil and one with flour, because that would require cleaning my hands off in between individual dumplings. Okay, that one worked nicely. We made quite a few of them, and we've got a little bit of extra filling. And I'm going to go ahead and scoop this right into my trash bowl so that I can get this out of the way and clean my hands off before any of this stuff hardens on me. And then thoroughly dry my hands, because if I drip water into that hot oil while I'm testing its temperature, it will start to spit at me and probably burn me. So okay, here they are. That's the first one I made. That's the last one I made. You can tell that the bits from the board really started to incorporate into those outer casings as I went. Oop, I just bumped my mic. Hope that didn't make a noise. Let's get the flour tower put away. I don't need that now. The sauce is saucy. The fry oil says that it's 350. We're going to see if it's a liar. Let's get back over to the stove. As you can see, it's 350 according to that. And it's quite a bit hotter according to my other thermometer. And that's why I think it's not burning yet, but I think that my fry thermometer is miscalibrated by about 25 degrees. Because if you'll recall, last time I did a deep fry, this thing said we were still within the safe range, and my oil started smoking, and that was a problem. I need a place to catch these as they come out. And that also needs to be a tray. Should have cleaned that tray. Okay. You. Oil catcher. we are going to dump these lings. I don't want to splash them. I'm going to gently lower them in and scoop them out. We're going to use the big spider today for the retrieving part. What was that? I just fell off of my light onto the... Huh. I'm going to use silicone tongs. Don't stick, don't stick. Okay. We're doing one to start with. Fry until golden brown. I can't even see the thing in there. I just see bubbles. Oh, our temperature went up really rapidly all of a sudden. Are we sticking to the bottom? I don't want that to be the case. Okay. Well, it didn't immediately fall apart, so that's a good sign. It also didn't immediately explode, so that's a good sign. Temperature control is, I think, going to be the ongoing problem, but after I'm happy with how this one comes out, I will do them probably 3 at a time. They sink, which is interesting. I wonder if that's a factor of the breadfruit itself not being buoyant in oil. I don't know. Because wheat-based dumplings, in my experience at least, like to float in fry oil. And potatoes just straight up float all the time in fry oil. But this stuff, it immediately sank to the bottom and stayed there. And it doesn't want to roll around either. It just wants to sit. So, again, it is marking itself as being noticeably different than the other starchy competitors in this field. Oop. One of my onions got on the floor. And I stepped on it. Okay. So it's brown. What do you think? Is that golden brown enough? It's still producing a lot of bubbles. I could just wait for the bubbles to die down a bit. I know that's one sign that you've cooked through, is that it stops driving more, because the bubbles are happening from moisture in whatever you're frying pushing to the surface, and the bubbling prevents the oil from soaking into the thing that you're frying. No, it didn't fall apart. We're just seeing, I'm just gauging how long I want to cook it. This was also the one that I think had the most chance of falling apart because it was the last one I made. It looks pretty brown. I'm going to call it there. It looks like a meatball. It's hot. I want to. Wow, where did that enormous fly come from? There's fish inside, but it's all cooked. Everything, all the filling was pre-cooked. So there's no concern about that. Our filling today is the recommended filling for this from the recipe, except I didn't have salt cod, and I found a piece of salmon in the bargain bin, so I went with salmon filling. But the recipe recommends salt cod, but then it says any leftover meat you've got would be perfectly good as well. And I was speculating earlier that I thought this would be very good with tofu. But I wanted to do one and cut it open before I started doing a whole bunch of them, just to gauge what I'm working with. But yes, all of the elements, including the outer casing, actually, were fully cooked when it went in. So an enormous fly just showed up like a minute ago. That one's cool enough to touch. I'm coming back over here. We're going to let the oil temp do its thing. I bet you that fly is here after the fish skin. Here's the one I just did. We're going to get into the middle, see what it looks like, see how well fried through it is, see if it's excessively oily or not. And then, assuming it's good, I'm going to use this one as a guideline and do the rest of them. It's hot in the middle. Steam's coming out of it. Taste the skin first. Got a nice little crispy exterior. Breadfruit flavor. I call it a win. I call that a success. I'm gonna turn the heat up under my oil just a scooch. And we're going to start putting these guys in there more than one at a time. Fly. I know what the fly is here for. The fly is here because I've got fish skin that I haven't gotten rid of yet. So let's get these guys in here. They weirdly sink straight to the bottom and stay there, which is, I suppose, helpful in one way. I don't have to worry about part of them sticking above the oil and having to constantly turn them. I'm tasting in advance this one. The exterior has a good crisp to it, and just below that, it's this very soft, the crispness did not penetrate very far. So it's this thin, crisp skin overlying a very soft, kind of mashed potato-y, kind of like mashed sweet potato-y texture of the rest of the breadfruit. And then the delicious filling. I will do a formal taste test with the sauce later. I know some of you missed this. The sauce for this, I did finish the coffee cake. I shared it with friends and neighbors. I did not consume the whole coffee cake myself, but we polished it off within a couple of days. I know some of you were missing when I talked about the sauce the first time. The sauce is literally called sauce, spelled S-O-S with an accent on the O. It's just sauce, and I love that. Huh. Frying these seems actually very easy. The not floating of them makes it very easy to just put them in there and let them fry. They're fully immersed. I don't have to push them around. They don't float around. They don't clump up by the stem of the thermometer. Let's see. Well, those are frying. They do take a couple of minutes to fry. I'm sure these would be delicious fried in like a peanut oil as well. We're using soybean oil because when I do deep frying at home or for the show, so I don't actually deep fry, not for the show. When I do deep frying, I tend to just select an inexpensive oil that I can get large quantities of. A gallon of soybean oil costs $8. A gallon of peanut oil is at least double that. Because although you can filter and reuse your oil, there is some loss over time as you go through it. Because the oil starts to oxidize, turns color. This guy. Ooh, okay, that one has dark spots on it. Probably from fillings that poked to the surface. Interesting. They hold together very, very well. I'm very impressed. And it looks like the breadfruit is very resistant to overcooking. Although my temperature has dropped a bit more than I would like with the three of them in, with all three of them in there like that. So let's get the temperature up a little bit. But as long as they're still vigorously producing bubbles, we're not getting them saturated with the fry oil. The bubbles are pushing the oil away. That's the goal. If you're deep frying and your oil gets either too cold to stop bubbling or the food is cooked to the point where it stops bubbling, that's when your fried food becomes soaked in oil, and that's what's gross. Properly fried food, where you have it at a right temperature and you don't overshoot your mark, doesn't take on a lot of oil and thus also doesn't lose a lot of oil in the frying process. It's a balance, and you got to keep an eye on it. These guys, they're all getting to that nice brown color. I'm using that first one, which is still a bit darker than they are now. This guy's my guide. I'll just actually put him there. That guy is my guide for the color I'm shooting for, because I thought that one was pretty good. And any darker than that, and I'm going to start thinking that they are burning. Oh, so well, we're in the home stretch. We're in the home stretch with these things. It's just a matter of getting them all deep fried. What are y'all doing for dinner? We've got a bunch of people in now. It's right around dinner time in my neck of the woods. I don't know where everyone is from. I could cheat and open up my users in chat box and call some of these people. No, we're not calling out lurkers. Borgar is good. I made a burger. I'm not very good at making burgers. I've realized this. I'm not very good at making burgers. I tend to make them much too thick, and then I have to overcook them in order to get them not just raw in the middle. I think the only time I've succeeded was when I made smash burgers, because then you just lean into them. My oil temperature has dropped quite. Ooh, that was dangerous. Let's put that so it can't slide off. The top end of that is hot, so it keeps dipping in the oil. I was just about to turn my temperature up a little bit because these things are sapping the heat from my my oil quite a bit, which is why I think they are taking longer to get there. But well, this one is definitely done. We'll get that guy out. I'm going to say they're all done. I'm going to say that's 3 more. I need a nicer place to put that where it can't slide around. But always take great caution when frying. That stuff is dangerously hot and very splashy. And it's also close to the risk temperature point for silicone. So I would not use the silicone tongs to get those guys out of there or to push them around while they're in there. You may damage your silicone. Silicone it's very heat resistant, but it is not entirely heat resistant. And it starts running into trouble at around 450 Fahrenheit, where it can actively break down. There's a little green fleck floating around in my oil. Something escaped. Someday you will teach me the way of the burger. Yeah, beef has for a long time been one of my weaknesses. Anyways, these things are great. I need to do more like fry parties, like invite people over and do frying for a group instead of just for myself. Because this part right here, is the part when I need chit chat. I need some chatter because we're just watching a vat of oil bubble for a while. If I had a full professional size deep fryer, I could have done this whole batch in one go. That would have been fun. And hey, because I bought a backup, nobody saw it except at the very beginning. Because I bought a backup at the in case, because we made all of this out of just the half of the breadfruit that I had left over, which I saved specifically to see how well it would hold up to not using it all right away, and it held up perfectly. Like I didn't even notice a difference in it. Even the soft spot didn't get any bigger. But I picked up a spare. So I have more breadfruit in my future. I think I've fallen in love with this stuff. I think I may have fallen in love with breadfruit. Just got to convince my local grocery stores to stock it consistently. And I can do all sorts of weird experiments with it. Who knows? I'll discover a new taste sensation. I know what I should do. While I'm waiting, I've got some washed dishes over here, ready to be put away. And I can do that while I chit-chat, so that when I need to start cleaning the fresh dishes that I just made, and am still making, I won't have to then stop and put all this stuff away first. Make my own life marginally easier. Put away this thing, my burger flipper. I bought a specifically burger flipper because I can't help myself and acquire things because, ooh, that's cool. That's usually my reaction. Ooh, look at that thing. I'll get it. And then I use it one time. What I need is one of those big cast iron griddles to. I've actually cooked on one of those. I've cooked on a commercial griddle, one of those big flat tops. Those things, for the things that you make on them, they are perfect. There are definitely some things you can't make on them. But ooh, I guess we do have to turn these because the bottoms are developing a brown spot where they're touching the bottom of the pot. So I can't just put them in there and ignore them. I do have to turn them at least once to prevent them from over browning on one side. Okay, good to know. Good to know. What was I saying? Flat tops. Flat top griddles. The best pancakes I've ever made were made on a commercial flat top griddle. They came out perfectly and in huge quantities, obviously. I know. I haven't forgotten. We're having a visit. Special event. Crossover of the millennium. Oop. I'm getting a little plinking out of my fry oil, which I believe means that one of them has ruptured and some of the filling is frying directly. They're still a tiny bit under brown where I think I wanted them, and I think that's because my oil temp dropped. I did turn it up, and the oil temp is coming back up, but I think we may have cracked one of them in the frying. There are 5 left. Yes, there will be guest stars next week. I don't have a sound system to let them contribute to the sound. I've also got to figure out what I'm going to make Probably shouldn't go fully experimental. As much fun as fully experimental is, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it doesn't make food. Okay, those guys are brown. So let's get a couple more in there. I'm going to do 2 because I want the temperature of the oil to rebound a little bit. And because I have 5 left, so I can't do another batch of 3. If I hadn't done that one by itself at the beginning. But yes, I have guest stars, and I will leave it up to the guest stars if they want to contribute directly or just hang by and consume the fruits of my labor. We're going a little bit long on this one. Gotta get the house in order too. The cleaning project has resulted in everything being clean, but the cluttered part has mostly just resulted in the clutter being moved to a different room. So some of the rooms look great, and some of the rooms look extra cluttered. Maybe we'll just close the door and pretend it's not there. Anyways, gonna flip these over because they brown extra fast on the side that is touching the bottom, because they are actually touching the bottom. And it's not a matter of the oil not being deep enough, it's a matter of them sinking. This would actually be very difficult to cook if the oil was much deeper, because they want to sink to the bottom. They want to just land at the bottom of the oil and cook. This is still on. Yeah. Okay. Let's get some of these bowls pre-soaking so that sticky breadfruit paste doesn't harden. I don't know if it hardens. I know that wheat-based flours will harden. And that rice starch will also harden if you don't deal with it promptly. I'm going to hedge my bets and assume that these will harden as well, since it's just starch. Get the things that are starchy soaking so that they don't all harden up on me while I'm not looking. That fish board over there. Okay, where did you come from, big fly? One lonesome big fly. I will have to hunt that down. Okay, our temperature's coming back up. The browning is faster. Okay, as always, the biggest issue with deep frying is just controlling the temperature. It keeps wanting to swing around, and it's a unavoidable side effect of having such a small fry going. That's why a commercial deep fryer is, instead of being a little pot on top of a stove, the size of the entire stove with 100 gallons of oil in it, so that when you put a basket of French fries in it, the oil does not change temperature. I should. What is these things named? Lam Vertiab Boulet. I'll talk about it because I've got a recipe pulled up that actually has descriptions. Um, uh, if I could figure out how to make the dough less sticky, I could have made these without the flour, and then they could also be gluten-free. Which I think if I used oil, I could have pulled that off. They are named after the French word for meatball. And Haiti was a French colony. Haha, connection made. Okay, that one fried up much faster. That's what what I want to see. Oop. Where did I put my tongs? Oh, damn it! I put the tongs in the sink. Now they're wet. That's not good. I can't have them be wet. We're going to have to get these guys in here like that. You can't use wet tools in fry oil. It will start to spit and hate you. Okay. Wax paper away. Wax paper, I think, was the right choice. It didn't stick to the wax paper at all. Lam Vertiab Boulet is really more of a fritter than a meatball, with the primary ingredient of breadfruit. Well, that's what we made, so... oh, interesting. People have commented, like when I talk about breadfruit, people look at the picture like, is that a jackfruit? Is that a durian? Well, according to this article, durian, jackfruit, and breadfruit are all related to each other and are all in the mulberry family. There you go. Doing a learn. Mulberries. Who knew? I've got mulberries growing right up the street. Okay, get that guy flipped. Get that guy flipped. Get that guy flipped. I didn't know that. That's a interesting tidbit. The mulberries. I wonder why the mulberry family makes these big, weird starch fruits. Hmm. The more you know. I need to get the thing. The more you know, shooting star. Here's something that has me very intrigued with this, with breadfruit specifically. It's a starch, but it's a fruit, and it behaves like the other starchy fruits, like plantain. They don't really behave like the starches we're familiar with that we make like potatoes and bread, that type of thing out of. This behaves a lot more like those things. For people who are on the true no cruelty diet, this is a fruit. The fruit is the part of that the plant wants you to eat. They make it so that it can be eaten, so that they can spread their seeds. You can't do that with potatoes because you got to dig the whole plant up, kill it, get the potatoes out of there. I don't know anybody who's on the cruelty-free, like, don't hurt a plant diet, but I've heard of it as like the extreme version of the vegan diet, the fruit-only diet. And I'd always thought, oh, that would be incredibly difficult because fruits are they only like a certain part of a balanced diet. Well, here you go. We've got fruits that are sweet. Now we've got fruits that are starchy. We've already had fruits that were high in fat and high in protein. I think you could pull it off. I think I could make a full meal out of just fruit and not have it be a dessert. Wouldn't that be a fun project? Make a multi-course meal where all of my ingredients are fruit and nothing but. And I would have to plan that one out. That one would have to be a full plan and not a off the cuff. We are looking pretty good in there. I'm going to turn the heat off, but I'm going to let them bubble for just another few moments before I scoop them out. And then we will taste them with the sauce. I gotta copy this. The sauce is how you spell sauce. The stuff that I made. Okay, let's get them out of there. Well, this worked great, and the things held together extremely well. Get back over here. Oh, why is that camera gone out of focus? Is it steamed up? Why has this camera gone out of focus suddenly? How long has this camera been out of focus? Huh. Weird. It was focusing like an inch in front of its face, and there was nothing there to focus on. Bizarre. Bizarre. Let's build our plate. I'm going to want to see. These are brown, so a white plate is... It wasn't foggy. It was literally out of focus. It was focusing at about 4 inches in front of its face in this empty space. And all I had to do was put my hand there and get it to refocus, but it was weird. What plate do you think we should use? Because these things are brown, so I want a light-colored plate. I've only got 2 options. We've got circle and we've got square. And I think the square plates are too big. We're going to go with the circle plate. This guy. And the sauce can go in a ramekin. Here's the sauce. This I haven't actually tasted the sauce. It's got a bunch of herbs, a bunch of aromatics, quite a lot of oil, and a surprisingly large amount of acid as well. And it also doesn't match the picture. So, and I definitely should not have filled the ramekin here because I immediately got it on the plate. We'll clean that up. Today we have a rare opportunity in terms of plating where I don't have to necessarily form the finished plate here on, let's see, get that, even it out. Okay, I'm not going to wipe it off. I'm just going to make a little orange ring around the whole thing. Perfect. I don't necessarily have to plate it, take photos, and then break into it because I've got a whole bunch of these things. And there they are. So I can assemble a plate and then do a tasting. Let's get into one of these. They have a lot of airspace. I'm surprised how much airspace they have in them. Let's see what that one looks like on the inside. All right, I expected them, if they had that much airspace, to have wanted to burst, and they did not. Which speaks to the structural integrity. They do just kind of look like brown lumps. Speaks to the structural integrity of the thing. I'm going to take the photo from this side. So the one that's split here is going to be facing camera. Let's taste it up, and then I can... We're just going to take sauce. Sauce this guy. Dig in. Hot. Very hot. It's quite nice. The crispy outer surface has softened up as they sit around a little bit. It's not completely perfectly crisp like it was when I did it right away. So that's the thing. Get to them post-haste. They have a wonderful mashed potato-y consistency. And an interesting sort of... I used a strong flavor with the salmon. And the recipe recommended salt cod, which is also... Although cod is not a strong flavor itself, salting it definitely will bring a strong flavor. So I think that stronger flavors are important because the outer casing is not flavorless. The outer casing is not like a wonton wrapper or a ravioli where you can barely taste the exterior and the filling does all the work. This breadfruit gives me pretty strong breadfruit flavor, which is bready, but it comes through quite well. So having strong flavors on the interior is good. The sauce is oily and acidic, good for balancing out fried food, as far as I can tell. This stuff did not soak up any oil either. These are very, very non-oily fried balls, so that's good. I'm very pleased. I don't think I made the sauce correctly, but it is it's mighty tasty. Whatever I made there, whatever incorrect thing I made here, I don't want to mess up my plate. It is mighty tasty. It's acidic. It's actually got a little bit of crunch left because I didn't cook the vegetables down into complete mush. But it's savory, it's acidic. The oil makes it hold together. It's quite a good pairing with this doughy, with this sort of doughy ball, this mashed potatoey ball. It's like a gravy. I would make this again. Not soon because the setting up the deep fry is a hassle. I would worry that this would not work in a shallow fry. I think that getting these guys fully immersed is so they can cook completely evenly and really seal in. I would be concerned that if I tried to flip them when only the bottom was cooked and the top was still raw, that they would then fall apart. Anyways, Breadfruit, another resounding success in my book. I love this stuff. I can't believe I've never tried it before, and I'm super enjoying it. I've got you can see back there, a sink of dishes to deal with that we keep slightly off the screen at all times, and a vat of oil that is still 300 degrees that I have to let cool down and then try to reclaim as much as I can so that I haven't just flushed my oil down the drain. But yeah, yes, my big weird fruit purchase on a random impulse on Saturday has resulted in a new beloved item for myself. This stuff is great. These things are great. I don't regret. This is a bit of a smaller one. I don't regret picking up another one of these at all. This particular dish was a success, but overall the success is breadfruit. Stuff is great. I wish that American health culture had found breadfruit before it found jackfruit, so that we could have had this stuff longer. I know that the fruit itself has existed longer, but it hasn't been like promoted in America at all, really, to my knowledge. But it's great. That's good stuff. It's good stuff. Fly. I'm going to deal with the fly too. We're going to do that off camera. He's bugging me. Anyways, we went long today. The frying took a while. These things didn't fry very fast. There's a lot of elements to this. This feels like a party project that I just did all myself. Ooh, it's spicy. I made the thing spicy, so it's also spicing me. But we went long. We're past 7, which normally I don't go this long. So I'm sure some of you have ducked in and ducked out. And we lost a few people just recently, so I think we've hit that tipping point where people are ready to. I think we've hit that tipping point where people are ready to go. So I'm going to wrap us up and drop us off at someone else. Let's see. We have a few choices. LaFay is playing Diablo 3. B Bubs is playing a game for a change. He's the other cooking place I go to. Billy is on. I think we rated Billy last week because he was his first ever Tuesday. You know what? LaFay was off for a while, so let's go see LaFay. LaFay's always a good time. We haven't had an opportunity for a while because she's been away. Let's remember what the heck I've got. The heck these things are called. Lam Vertiab Boulet. Because she's going to ask when we get there what I made. As for a raid message, I say just spam my emotes if you got them. I like the little munchy face one. But yeah, thanks for coming out. Thanks for sticking around. I have grand plans in my head, and none of them have become reality for the channel as of yet. But we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm sure I'll somehow get there. Wow, it's already dark. So I will be back on Saturday. I have not solidified any changes to my schedule so far, even though I keep like mulling them over. Oop. And we are away.